Is it really worth replacing batteries in older devices? What difference does keeping the internals clean really make? Let's find out. Welcome to Computers, I am Scott, and today on the desk of Esk, it's maintenance day as we replace the batteries, the delicious thermal pasta, and generally just give a bit of loving to this HP Envy laptop and the GPD Win3 of previous videos. Now, some might say that this should have been part of those videos, and they'd be right, but the replacement batteries didn't arrive in time. Curse you, global logistics! Let's deal with that laptop first, and I suppose we better establish a baseline to see if this was worth doing. Realistic battery life tests are difficult to keep standardised, but as I'm not comparing different laptops, that makes this a bit easier. I am going to run a 1-hour YouTube video over Wi-Fi with the screen set at my usual brightness and the audio silenced for the sake of my sanity until it dies, and you are going to watch it in real time. Oh, okay, I'll spare you, and also my camera's batteries from the most boring time-lapse in the world. It dropped from 100% to 68% over that hour, you'll just have to trust me. For a repeatable CPU-intensive task, I'm going to let Prime95 and Furmark stress tests run until it keels over, and it sat there calculating prime numbers and simulating furry donuts for 1 hour and 45 minutes before taking a nap from a fully recharged battery. I'm also going to replace the thermal paste to see if we can improve the temperatures. I think the stress test is going to give us a worst case for this, where it's levelling out at 67 degrees C while hitting a max of 77. Unfortunately, official replacement batteries are no longer available, and frankly were prohibitively expensive anyway, and the third-party market is a crapshoot in terms of quality and price. So, let's go gambling. I've not found any reliable way to get good quality, reasonably priced third-party batteries, so all I can advise is find an AliExpress listing with a decent number of sales and a decent rating, so not a solitary 5-star review. That's landed me with this replacement from trusted brand DODOMORN. Think battery, think DODOMORN. This content is in no way sponsored by DODOMORN. The unscrewing and unclipping is hampered mainly by me not realising some screws are hidden under the rubber feet, but with that sorted, and with judicious application of plastic pry tools, the back pops off. The battery is held in with 4 screws, and with those removed it unclips and can be unplugged and replaced. While we're in here, let's see if we can't clean it up and replace the thermal paste. One of the primary criticisms of this laptop from the time was that it ran hot, so it needs all the help it can get. This, it turns out, was long overdue, so removing that crusty old stuff should help. The rest of the fan and heatsink assembly is reasonably clean, but of course we'll brush that off while we're here. I'm not completely sure if there's any need to condition the battery in space year 2026, but just in case I've let this fully charge up for a day and then drained it back down a couple of times. Running the same 1-hour YouTube test, the battery now drains to 81%, so that implies that it will get a full extra hour of video out of the charge. Not to be sniffed at, and in the stress test it is now lasting 2 hours and 12 minutes, and while that's not even half an hour more, it's still a 25% increase. However, it's now running at 54 degrees C, a massive 13 degrees less, so a great improvement there. Was this a worthwhile use of £18 and about an hour? Well, I don't travel as much as I used to, so I don't actually use this away from a wall socket very much, so the benefits of the extra battery life are nice, but not game changing. Still, for £18 it's churlish to complain about the value for money, and I don't regret the decision. Changing the thermal paste is an absolute no-brainer though, and I should have done it long ago, and the drop in operating temperature and noise levels is absolutely worth the time invested and the penny's worth of thermal paste. A welcome reminder that even if you're not using your devices very much, it's worth opening them up, cleaning them, and changing the paste every couple of years. If you haven't done it for your kit, do it now. Moving on to the GPD Win3, and you'll notice that this analog stick is looking a little droopy. I'd tried to take this stick cover off and seem to have pulled the stick off its mount completely, because I am the world's strongest nerd. So let's try and fix that, as well as change the battery and replace the thermal paste. The choice of battery suppliers for the GPD Win devices are even more limited, and they all seem to point back to the same item anyway. In the end, I ordered this from batterybuy.co.uk, which, if nothing else, is a website that does what it says in the tin. At £44, this is a bit more of a gamble, at least when thought of in terms of percentage of total value of the device, which cost me £220 a little over a year ago. Let's run through the same test procedure with the same methodologies. This is currently dropping a massive 45% when viewing 1 hour of streaming video, and lasts a mere 45 minutes when taxing the processor with the Furmark and Prime95 torture test, where it's sitting at a temperature of 61 degrees. I won't lie, I'm a little trepidatious about ripping this apart. After changing the battery on the original GPD Win, it never went back quite as tightly as factory, but needs must. Thankfully, we're not going anywhere near the sliding screen mechanisms. The back comes off reasonably easily after being unscrewed and pried apart with plastic picks. What's happened with the joystick is that this mounting tab has snapped off. It's too small to repair in my estimation. It's not the end of the world, as this top part of the housing is also friction fit against the trigger button assembly, so relocating the lower pin should hold this acceptably well if I'm not too rough with it. If that doesn't hold long term, I'll order up a replacement part. The fan, heatsink and CPU heat spreader are slightly interlocked, but unscrew and remove easily enough. Just need to keep track of the one longer screw on the heat spreader that also has to go through the heatsink plate. Clearly this needed a clean long before now. Calling the gooch collector. The old battery is glued in pretty well, but responds to the application of naked force after working a bit of pure alcohol in to loosen it a little. There's enough residual stickiness that I'm not going to apply fresh adhesive for this battery, but conduct your own risk assessment should you attempt it. I've given this the same conditioning treatment, and after rerunning the tests it's now only dropping 10% after an hour of YouTube video, and the torture test now lasts for 1 hour and 38 minutes, more than twice as long. The temperature during the stress test drops to 52 to 54 degrees C, so say roughly 8 degrees cooler, and it's much quieter too, so a good quality of life improvement. Given the size of the screen, this is never the primary choice for watching video, but going from 2 and a bit hours to 10 is a suspicious improvement, and I expect there was some background process going on that I didn't notice when I was testing the old battery, so I'm not sure how valid that is. I'm more confident, however, with the stress test, and while it's not a huge increase in that running time, it's more worthwhile on this device than on the laptop. 45 minutes was only just enough time to start getting into a groove on the likes of Baldur's Gate 3, so the extra 53 minutes is very much appreciated. An hour and a half is a much better length of time for a gaming session, so that's a win. Again, cleaning it out and repasting it was very much an exercise worth doing. While it wasn't thermal throttling before, even through that wall of fur blocking off the heatsink, cleaning it out certainly means the fan's not working so hard or so loudly. So that's the conclusion of this video. Changing a still halfway decently performing battery might not be transformative, so unless it's cramping your style, maybe hold off on that until your battery is completely goosed. Changing the thermal paste and cleaning it out, however, is a very low cost and high impact bit of maintenance that should not be neglected. So, hope you enjoyed this Videotronic missive, and if you did, consider subscribing, and until next time, take care of yourself and each other.